This is my ranking of all 4 Avengers movies, so let's dive on in. Now, one thing I do want to say really quickly is that I enjoy all 4 of these movies. Even though some of them are a little bit better than others, I do not think they are bad MCU movies by any means, and the one that I have in 4th place is still ranked 15 out of 29 out of all of the MCU movies I've seen. I think I need to update that list on my Letterboxd page, but on that list I currently have 29 films in that list, and 4th place is at number 15, so it's about right in the middle, so not too bad. Alright, so without further ado, in 4th place I have the 2015 film Age of Ultron, and this was the 2nd Avengers movie. And one good thing that I can say about this movie is that I think Age of Ultron is one of, if not the most underrated MCU movie. I think it has a lot of really fantastic moments. For starters, number 1, you've got the scene where they are all trying to lift Mjolnir at the party, and then Cap moves it a little bit, and you're like, oh shit. Right, number 2, I also really enjoy watching the scene where they talk about Wakanda for a little bit. I think it's a nice setup, nice foreshadowing. Basically what happens is they are looking at Ulysses Claw, played by Andy Serkis, and Tony Stark is like, I know that guy. And they're like, what's that weird thing on his neck? Is it a tattoo? And Thor, who's not actually dumb, he's like, no, that's not a tattoo, that's a brand. And they're like, oh, what dialect is it in? Like, what does it mean? And Bruce Banner, Hulk, Mark Ruffalo, he looks it up, and he's like, it means thief in a much less friendly way, but it's in an African dialect, and I don't know which one. And then he's like, Wakandan? And Tony Stark's like, guys, holy shit, this is bad, because if he came out of Wakanda, this is bad news bears. And then someone else is like, well, what comes out of Wakanda? And then it pans to Cap's shield on the ground, and he says, the strongest metal on Earth. So fucking cool. You also, in that movie, have a really cool fight scene between the Hulkbuster, which is Tony Stark, Iron Man, and Bruce Banner's Hulk. And he's like, go to sleep, go to sleep, go to sleep, go to sleep. It's a really funny moment. You also, of course, have Quicksilver, Ultron, and Wanda, and I think it's just great. Alright, in 3rd place I have 2018's Infinity War. And honestly, depending on the day, I could put this at number 2 and have the originals at number 3. But how I'm feeling today, I am going to have Infinity War at number 3. And one thing that I can say about Infinity War that I always find surprising is it is not only one of the darkest MCU movies, but I think it's also one of the funniest. Now, I don't know if I can say that 100% of the jokes in this movie land for me specifically, but I do know that I've laughed a good amount with this movie. Now, is it the funniest MCU movie? Probably not, but I do think it is up there. And in terms of great moments in this movie, there are so many. For starters, I love when Proxima Midnight and the other dude, they throw that staff across the train thing, and then Cap catches it and he walks in the light. And guys, it's like, holy shit, it's like the beginning of the end, right? You also have, of course, the moment where Thor comes to Wakanda with Rocket and Groot, right? And he's like, bring me Thanos! And his eyes go fucking crazy. You also have Peter Dinklage in this movie. There are so many fantastic moments. So many quotable moments. The problem is, with Infinity War, every time I watch it, I just want to watch Endgame immediately after. This is an Empire Strikes Back situation. Sort of like Godfather 2, maybe, in terms of great sequels. But this is a movie where the bad guys win. Yes, the heroes are in it, but I think we all know that Infinity War is Thanos' movie. I believe he is the character with the most amount of screen time. It's either Thanos, Gamora, or Iron Man. I could be wrong, but Infinity War is clearly Thanos' movie. Alright, in 2nd place, I have the one that started it all, 2012's The Avengers, and I just love this movie. You've got Cap, you've got Iron Man, Thor, Black Widow, Hawkeye, and Hulk, and it is such a great group. And even though the highs of this movie may not be as high as some other MCU films, I think it is still one of the most consistent movies. The way I see it is sort of like this. Take Guardians, Infinity War, Endgame, and they're sort of like this. Whereas the original Avengers to me is more like this. You know, the lows aren't as bad, the highs aren't as high, but it is a very consistent movie. Also, all of these films are surprisingly long. They're all at least like 2.5 hours, maybe 2 hours and 20, you know, something like that, but they're all kind of long. But again, this was a film that I just fell in love with, and I don't know exactly when I realized the direction that MCU was going, you know, pulling all these threads together, but I remember thoroughly enjoying the original Avengers movie, and until Endgame came out, this was my number one. And last, but certainly not least, I have Avengers Endgame that came out in 2019, and honestly, if this was the last MCU movie that was produced, you know, for a few years, I would have been cool with that. I like some of the stuff that I've seen since then, but I don't feel like it's necessary, because something I've said before, and I'll say it again here, is I think Avengers Endgame is like one of the most perfect endings in all of cinema history. I would put it up there with Toy Story 3, and I would put it up there with The Lord of the Rings. And the way that this ended is how I wanted Harry Potter to end. I think Harry Potter had a pretty good ending. But it is definitely better than how Star Wars and Game of Thrones ended. This was what I wanted from those two franchises. And the fact that MCU delivered, that's awesome. This is what I want in Final Battle. Doesn't matter what franchise it is. This is what I want in goddamn everything. Okay, I want to see all the heroes, all these characters. It's like in Spy Kids 3. All these characters that we've grown to love, or just seen for a minute, they all come back one last time to fight the ultimate big bad guys. And another thing to mention about Avengers Endgame here is that I could see how some people say it's boring, or it's slow, sad, and depressing. You know, but I could also say some of that about Infinity War. But I think what we all need to realize and remember here is that, like I said, Infinity War is Thanos' movie. But Endgame, Thanos is barely in it. He's still the big bad guy. But Avengers Endgame is clearly the hero's movie. But more specifically, it is not just the Avengers movie. It is about the original 6 Avengers. Okay, so Iron Man, Cap, Thor, Black Widow, Hawkeye, and Hulk, right? And one thing that I just love about Avengers Endgame is how in the credits, you know, there's like 50 named characters in this movie. There is a shit ton. What I love is when they get to the end of the credits, I believe the song is called Main on End, and what you have is a different music change, and it shows like the signatures and the characters' names for the OG 6 Avengers, and I just fucking loved that moment in the theaters. Also, this movie makes me cry at the end, and even though it may be slow for the majority of the film, I think the last 30-40 minutes of this film fucking save it from any problems it has, because when Portals hits, when the complex gets blown up, we have that final battle. We have that scene with the 10 women. It is fucking electric. This movie is 11 out of 10 for me. I've said it before. This movie is just fantastic. I love it so much. But please let me know down in the comment section, how would you rank the 4 Avengers movies? What's your favorite MCU movie? All those things like that. Please let me know down below. And I hope all of y'all have a great day.